Welcome to another episode of Journey to the Pit. I'm Jim Collins and I'll be your host this evening. If this is your first time joining us over here at Journey to the Pit and you're watching us from YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification button. If you're following us over there on that Facebook Journey to the Pit page, make sure you hit that like and follow button. But listen, we always give these interviews every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We bring you special guests from all over the world, game fowl breeders from all over the world so they can give us unfiltered information on their journey to the pit. So basically what we talk about is all the aspects of game fowl, from the breeding, the selection, the setup, the care, the brooders, the incubators, natural hatch, everything that you would need to know to raise game fowl. So we bring special guests on from all over the world to make sure that we give a wide variety of different types of scenarios and situations that may be able to apply to you, because we realize that raising game fowl different places, a lot of things have to be different. Everything cannot be the same, from the feed to the care, to running an incubator, to many things. So like I say, we bring these breeders from all over, but tonight we got a little twist. Tonight we got a special guest coming on, someone bringing a skill set that I think we all can use, that we have never talked about here on Journey to the Pit. I think the information that he'll be sharing this evening will give us some great insight and also give us another line of defense to protect our flock. Y'all guys have seen, I have advertised it or promoted it throughout the week. We're going to have Phil Anderson on tonight talking about varmint control. We're going to talk about foxes, raccoons, possums, coyotes, all these different types of animals. And some animals that you never thought eat chickens. So it's going to be a great evening tonight. Make sure y'all guys take y'all notes. If y'all guys, like I said, is looking at this, watching us from YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification button. And if y'all guys are watching us over there on Facebook on Journey to the Pit page, make sure you hit that follow, that like, and that follow button. So I'm going to bring Phil Anderson on. I want everybody to start checking in. Jim, loaded and clear on the YouTube. All right, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that y'all guys can hear me loud and clear before we get this show on the road. We started a little late. We had a few little technical difficulties. As y'all guys know, with this technology, we depend on it a lot. But hey, we're not all, this ain't what we do for a living. So we got to sometimes just try to figure it out. Oh, we got a Puerto Rico in the house. We got Puerto Rico in the house. What's up, Lamar? You see everybody checking in here on Facebook. I got you. I got you. Tom, we got Tennessee. We got Tampa, Florida. Everybody's checking in. Sound is good. Audio is good, and video is good. We're going to get this show on the road in a second. But also, too, like I say, what's up, Wap? Whippy? Okay, I got you, Juan. What's up, Juan? Everything is looking and sounding good. So, guys, we got everything good to go. Like I said, if y'all guys have not seen the promotion throughout the week, we got Phil Anderson coming on this evening. Phil Anderson is a game fowl breeder, but he's also a trapper with about 5 decades of experience. I posted a lot of pictures of all types of animals that he has trapped, and he's going to come on here and give us some inside information on how we can deal with these varmints, because again, him and I see so many posts on social media with people saying, what has eaten my chickens? I came outside and look at what my chickens look like. So, a lot of times, in many cases, nobody knows, exactly what varmints have attacked their flock. So Phil is going to come on this evening to talk to us about, one, how to identify, two, how to track, three, and how to control. I think, him and I has had some lengthy conversations about it. It's some awesome information. And he brought two things to me, two animals to me, reptiles, basically. Y'all guys are going to be just as shocked as I am, that eat chickens, and I never paid attention to it. So, again, guys, everybody's checking in from all over: Alabama, Georgia, California, South Carolina. We got Tennessee in the house. This is going to be another great episode, guys. And again, what we talk about here on Journey to the Pit is everything that you need to know to raise game fowl. And it's not just breeding chickens, but it's also varmint control. So, guys, welcome Mr. Phil Anderson coming on this evening. Let me go ahead and bring Mr. Phil in. Phil, how you
Greetings.
doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm with you.
I am doing great.
Greetings and
Hold on, guys.
salutations.
Right, exactly. So listen, guys, we got Mr. Phil on, but before we get started, let me go ahead and say the disclaimer as I always do. Everything discussed in this interview is for historical educational, and entertainment purposes only. None of this information is intended for any illegal purposes, and all opinions are respective of the individual. I will also add to the disclaimer this evening, based upon because of our topic this evening, is all the information that Phil Anderson shares with us tonight. Please verify and check it with your local fish and game commission or local ordinances before y'all guys go out and start doing some of the things that Phil will be sharing with us tonight. So again, he's just giving y'all guys tricks, tactics, techniques, and educational information. But it is up to you to verify if this stuff can be used in your locality. So Phil, welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. We are so
Thank you.
glad that you're on this evening, and we look forward to hearing the great information that you have.
Hey, I'll do my best. I'm 51 and a half years old. I grew up in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
Uh, got my first chickens and pigeons when I was about 9.
Okay.
And uh, bannies and pigeons and guineas. And
Uh-huh.
I was heartbroken every time I'd go out in the morning to take care of them and some massacre. Everything's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Something just
happened.
came through the yard.
Didn't know what the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, our own dog did it. Fox did it. Weasel did it. This did it. That did it. Well, I was a hard-headed young man. And I said, well, by golly, I'm just going to sort this out.
Right.
And I started paying attention. And I started, first thing I did was started locking my birds up at night.
Okay.
I in the hen house, 8x10 hen house, I just locked it up.
Mm-hmm.
They all went into roost. I'd shut the door, lock it, boom, done deal.
Right.
That would have been 80, 81.
Mm-hmm.
Fur prices were still relatively high.
Okay.
1986, a number one fox would bring anywhere from $90 to $110 for the pelt. Right now, it'll bring $10.
Wow.
It's not worth skinning out.
Right.
So there's no economic incentive for people to trap.
Got you.
That's part of the problem that we have now. But
right.
I started learning how to trap things and catch things, and I think I was 14 and I got my first 22, and
right.
I wasn't watching TV or on this thing or on this thing. I was down at the creek.
Uh-huh.
I was going fishing. I was out in the bush. I didn't have any time.
Right.
I didn't have much time for school either. I stayed out in the woods.
Well, I think that's a big problem with all our roostermen. I think when you had a conversation with them, they're all I think we all had that problem.
And yeah, and but I love the birds too. And I showed in 4-H and till I was, I guess, 15, 16. And then when I was in college, I was hunting a lot, and I had roosters while I went to college.
Okay.
And and graduate school, I kept roosters and fed roosters and competed back when it was still legal in Virginia.
Okay.
But as the years go on, just more and more things started just eating chickens. And I had a talent. I used to go hunting constantly. I was deer hunting, quail hunting, pheasant hunting, rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting. You name it, I did it.
Right.
And I said, well, I can fix that. I know how to get rid of that. And I figure it out. And I developed that skill. Uh, was it out of
So tell me,
necessity?
right,
I don't know. It was because I needed to have that skill, I thought,
right,
or else I wasn't going to have any birds, or I wasn't going to have any rabbits or quail on the
right.
farms that I had to hunt. So I
As a
developed
varmint.
that skill.
Right. So basically, Phil, like you said, you don't know if you got into trapping and stuff like that because of necessity or part because you kind of was an outdoorsy person anyway. But you start to realize that if you're going to keep any kind of flock of anything on a farm, that you needed to have some type of understanding or some type of skill set to kind of protect your flock from these varmints, right?
Absolutely. Without a doubt,
Right.
110%.
So Phil, tell me this: when you were growing up, um, you said that was in Virginia, right? Because right now you don't live in Virginia.
Now, I live in Maryland. I've always lived in Maryland. Virginia
Okay,
is a mile and a half due west across
gotcha,
the Potomac
gotcha,
River.
gotcha. So you pretty much been in the same area.
Yep.
Okay, so Phil, tell me this. During those days growing up, and like you say, you would go out there and realize, you would go out there to shock and disbelief that your flock has just been massacred by some varmint in the area. You know, Did you ever find out what varmint that was, or was it years down the road before you figured out exactly what came through your yard and just took everything out?
Trial and error.
Trial and error?
Trial and error. Uh, if a mink came in or a weasel came in and decimated, a flock of quail size
Mhm.
dibs, or, a pen of 100 little dibs, and the pen was up off the ground
Right.
and it's small chicken wire, what did it and
Right.
killed everything. Just didn't leave
Mhm.
anything alive.
Mhm.
Uh, you knew what did it. Um, the coons, reaching in and grabbing through the wire. You know what did it.
Right. Right.
Neighbors' dogs, you'd see them doing it. You knew
Right.
what did it.
That's the truth
Uh,
on that.
our own damn dogs.
Right.
Uh, but those were the main predators back then, and really not so much the coons because the fur prices were still high. And I used to run coon hounds, and we'd hunt 3 nights a week, and we were lucky if we got one coon, treat one coon. We had good dogs.
Mm.
They just weren't
Mm.
around.
They just went because, like you say, the fur prices was up, so they had everybody.
Well,
Everybody was out there hunting them things.
oh yeah, this was before the fall of communism. The wall hadn't come down.
Hmm.
Russia and China were buying all of our fur.
Got you. But we know it's a different world today. So the woods
Yeah,
is full of them. The woods is full of them. So Phil, so let's talk about now. Um, you've been in the game foul, like you say, since you was a child. And we constantly see these pictures and videos all on social media with guys asking the question, what got me, what got me, what got me, what you think has done this. And to be honest, I never see like a follow-up post on that same post or follow-up comment, say a week or two down the road, where the person is saying, oh, I found out what it was. I just see a whole bunch of things. It was a mink, it was an owl, it was a hawk, it was a coon, it was you know what I mean? It's like every comment is a different animal.
right,
So, like you were just saying, it is particular things that kind of help you understand what animal it was. But
correct.
tell us, you know, if you have a game farm, like what is one of the first things or the minimum things you should be doing if you have chickens or you plan on having chickens and you don't have them there yet? Like what is the first thing that you would do in an area where you plan on having chickens?
I would keep my lot size manageable,
Hmm.
and I would build a very good solid fence
Hmm.
around a smaller piece of property than
Right.
have a cheaper fence with larger size
Cover,
wire,
coverage area.
whole wire.
Right. Hmm.
I'd rather have a real secure half acre than
Small
I
lot.
would a loose acre.
Lot. Right. A loose area. Okay. So you said one of the things is definitely fencing, and you would recommend to get the fencing with the smaller, smaller holes versus covering more coverage, you know what I mean,
Right.
with cheaper fence because now I got to do 7 acres instead of two. So now I got to go to a cheaper fence. But you're saying if you go to a cheaper fence with bigger holes, that is going to have a negative effect as far as your security or protection of your flock.
Yep. Hey, I'd rather have 100 that are secure than 300 that are susceptible to a pack of neighborhood mongrels.
Okay, I got you. So fence is number one. That's number one. You definitely want to take a look at your fence. Um, so if you're in that area, is it a good idea to kind of know what kind of animals is in that area?
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. And it's not so bad now, but really, from what I've seen over the years,
Hmm.
it's neighborhood house dogs wreak
Okay.
more havoc with the chicken man than anything else.
Okay.
Some the neighbors might live 4 miles away,
Right.
but they turn their dogs loose and their dogs aren't trained. Their dogs are wild, just
Right.
run and they'll go in and just wipe you out.
Right.
We were talking, I was telling you about that friend of mine, left the gate open, had a great fence, left the gate
Right.
open, wasn't paying attention, came home, 90 fresh 2-year olds gone,
Wow. And all of them was done.
done.
And that was a person that had a good fence, but just left the gate open.
Got in a hurry, left the gate open.
So Phil, tell me this: since you said that they should know what type of animals is in an area. Just hypothetical. I moved to an area. I don't know what animals is in that area. What are some of the ways that I should be able to find out, what type of animals is in that area?
Well, first thing I would do is ask some of the folks that you see at the feed store.
Okay.
When you go down to the feed store, say, hey, what preys on chickens around here the most, do you think?
Hmm.
Um, and hey, they want to sell you feed. You're going to go buy, a ton, 2 tons of feed, or
Right.
500 pounds, 300 pounds. They're going to tell
Right.
you
Right.
because if they're selling feed, they're probably selling traps.
Traps, and we're gonna get to that, guys. We're
Traps.
going to get to traps. Okay, we're going to get to traps later on in the episode, so make sure you hang around for that because we're going to get to traps. And Phil has a lot of creative ways of catching things. So, we just starting at the beginning and we're going to walk our way through this whole interview. So, we're going to the feed stores, talking to locals to find out what type of animals is in the area, in that area. Phil, like, why is that important? Why would you think that's important to know what type of animals is in that area?
Well, say I was from Florida, South
Hmm.
Georgia, and gators were a problem and
Right,
wild hogs. And I moved to, well, let's just say here in Maryland or
okay,
Pennsylvania or
hmm,
Delaware or Virginia.
right,
You're not going to have gator or hog problems.
exactly.
but you're going to have red fox problems. You're going to have coyote problems, coon, possum,
Hmm.
skunk, weasel,
Mm.
mink.
Wow. Got a whole boatload up there. Like y'all got a circus up there, huh?
It's something else, man.
You got a
And
circus up there. So it's definitely like you said, it's important to find out, what you have in your area. So I guess, you can kind of be on the lookout. So say in an area, you have let's start walking through some of the animals. But before we get to the animals, actually, we talked about something earlier where you were telling me that one of the things as well, besides the fence, is every game fowl breeder, every breeder should walk its perimeter, right? You were telling me something about walking a perimeter of your What, explain to us why what the walking of the perimeter does.
first, it's your property, and
Hmm.
you're keeping an eye on it.
Hmm.
You know, you're checking it out. You know,
Right.
you're you know you want people and animals to see that there is somebody there checking it out.
Right.
You got your fence. You want to look
Hmm.
for holes, the wire that's bent up. Uh, you might see some fox hair or coyote hair stuck on a piece of barbed wire.
Mm.
Um, you might see where a house dog tried to dig under and get in.
Right.
And it's just that one little spot. And if you're not vigilant and you don't look for it, it just takes another. These animals are persistent
Hmm.
and they're going to keep coming back. And I've watched it. I've watched it over decades. I've seen it over and over again. They keep
Right.
hitting the same spot and they'll go in and go in and go in and keep digging until they get it where they can get in and get what they want. And if nobody's stopping them, why not?
And eventually they'll be in the fence.
They're going to be in it. It's a,
Right.
it only lasts so long. Fences wear down, they rust. The cows in the other pasture lean up against them and scratch on the barbed wire.
Right.
These things happen.
Right. So Phil, tell me this. So, which that makes a lot of sense. Based on your experience dealing with game fowl breeders from all over, do you feel as though that we play more of a reactive role than a proactive role when it comes to this varmint control?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. 110%.
Gotcha.
Everybody that I talk to, I say, look, this doesn't just you can't just catch 5 or 6 in November and think
Hmm.
you made a dent in the problem.
Right.
You didn't do anything because when you create a vacuum, something is always going to fill the vacuum.
Gotcha. So tell me this, Phil. With the individuals that have encountered the situation where I went outside and I had 5 hens that was ripped to shreds, what I mean, ate their heads, but they didn't eat anything else. Is that somebody who may not have been kind of scoping their perimeters, or trying to get an idea what kind of varmints they have in the area and stuff like that? Is that the reason why that person is clueless to what could possibly have eaten his chicken?
Jim, that's kind of tough for me to answer. Uh,
Okay.
I don't know. It happens to all of us. It happens to me still occasionally. I don't keep poultry in Maryland anymore because it's such a terrible state. But
Right.
I had 2 brood pens down at my other place that we just
Mhm.
sold, and I had Albany trio in one, and then I was breeding the Albany cock over 2 gray hens,
Mhm.
and I had them outside of my room and flat ground and nice grass and everything. literally 10 feet from my door. And I wake up to this god awful noise. And I had, there's one of those security lights, the lights that stay on kind of dim all night long.
Mm-hmm.
I go outside. A fox had poked his head through the feed cup hole, and I didn't file the wire down really well.
Right.
So he got stuck. The Albany is firing away. Our border collie has it by the tail. So he's getting pounded. The daggone fox is getting pounded in the face and getting his butt chewed up by the little border collie.
And how did he get his you said he got his head in there through the feed cup hole.
Right. But he couldn't get
Something
it
that
out.
small.
Yep. He couldn't get it out because the wire was cut at such an angle
Gotcha.
with the dikes that
Right.
it kind of stuck.
It
So he
got
was
stuck
screwed.
in there, huh?
He's screwed. And
Wow, that is a story. So when you came out, you looking at this fox with his head stuck in there. Albany is dropping a hammer on him inside the inside the pen, and the border collie is got him by the tail. Wow! And you said that was about 10 feet away from your house, huh?
yeah, the door, right, 10 feet from the door.
Did you ever find out was the yard even fenced, or it was just like kind of like
No,
open
no, no.
pasture?
They were good pens,
Right.
but the
So you
fox were
figure you
that
was good
bold.
to go.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about it. I really
Wow.
wasn't. It kind of shocked me. Kind of shocked me.
Wow.
But now nothing
Hmm.
shocks me.
Nothing shocked you, huh?
Now,
So
now
I see
seen
guys
too
are
much.
posting. You seen too much. I
Seen
see
too
some guys are
much.
posting. Guys are posting some questions in there, and I think we're going to get to those question guys. Guys are asking about snakes. Guys talking about they having problems with mongoose. Um, owl boxes. Yeah, I think owls is definitely, I think, something that's a challenge for many people. Is it much? Is it really anything that you can do with that for the owl situation?
That's a tough one. Uh, the old time way was an owl pole, which was
Okay.
a steel trap, a leg hold trap set on top
Hmm.
of a pole. Well,
Okay.
uh, it's against the law. Owls are federally protected,
Okay.
and
Owl. So guys, understand that and listen. What Phil is saying, the way that they used to do catch owls was that pole, but now owls are federally protected. You can't be trapping them like that. I mean, you can't do that. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning of the video, make sure you check your localities and your fishing game to make sure that you're not out there doing something that's going to get you in trouble, when it comes to these protecting your flock. So even if you want to protect yourself from the owls, you kind of at their mercy, huh? Because there really ain't much you can do.
not much. But I saw a guy, and he had a pretty neat setup.
Mhm.
His yard was not very wide, but it was long,
Okay.
and he put 10-foot poles, and he put fishing net like they use for catching salmon, or the
Mhm.
gill nets, but
Right.
with the big 6x6 holes made
Right.
out of fishing line,
Mhm.
and he stretched it over his chicken lot.
I seen that.
So
I've
that
been to a farm here in Georgia that has that. I seen that.
and the owls and the hawks, they fly down and they get caught up in it, and they're all up. You call Fish and
Right.
Game and say, hey, one of your lovely owls or hawks just is tearing up my fence, or
Mhm.
my netting. Come and do
Right.
something about it.
Right. Right.
Because
Exactly.
then the
Exactly.
problem's theirs.
Right. Then the problem is theirs. How about hawks? One
Same
of the
thing.
viewers are. Same thing with hawks.
Same thing. You're not going to stop them, and
Right.
they're migratory birds. Number
Okay.
one. So if somebody were, say, to break the law and kill a hawk or an owl, kill a hawk when it's in his chicken lot, there's going to be 20 more that come within the next
Mm,
week.
wow.
They just because
So
they're
it's best to leave them
migratory.
alone, huh?
Hey, it's a minimum $5,000 ticket.
Wow. So you better leave them hawks and them owls alone.
Leave them alone. Put the netting up. Uh,
I
you
see some
know,
other
uh,
concoctions too. One of the guys had one of those things like you see out in a car lot with that little man connected to the air blower. But I would think that would be
right,
pretty expensive. But he he has that guy. He lives out there in Arkansas, and he has it, and he said it works really, really well. But I never asked him if it's something that he runs every single night or how he
right.
run it, but he did send me a video of it. He had a yellow thing. It's the same thing that they use in front of the car lots to get your attention, like the blow up man that blows with that air blower and then he flopping all
Yep.
around. He said that has worked for him. So, again, like I say, I don't know if it's something that he used all the time or what. So I guess on those two things, we have limited options with the hawks and the owls. So let's now start to talk about the things that we do have more options to protect ourselves from. And let's start with the coons. Coons cause a lot of well, I ain't gonna say they cause a lot of damage, but coons do get in folks' yards and cause damage. So what are some of the things to look for when it comes to coons? And what are some of the things we can do to protect ourselves from the coons?
As we discussed earlier, they're famous for reaching through chicken wire and grabbing them and just getting that head and pulling the head out of the wire.
Mhm.
That's a telltale sign. Um, right now, here in Maryland and West Virginia and Virginia, we are getting ready in the next 2 weeks to have the 17-year cicada
Okay.
hatch.
Okay.
So there'll be billions of these cicada bugs everywhere. The larvae
Mm.
are coming up. The larvae are coming up to the surface of the ground now,
Okay.
and I've been going out in the backyard and at customers' properties and seeing the yards just torn up like hogs had been through it.
Okay.
The coons and the fox are just digging and digging and digging and eating those
Mm.
grubs because those grubs are, you know, yeah, like that, and it's
Okay.
pure protein, pure
Wow.
protein.
So tell me, Phil, besides this time of the year, what can we do to kind of protect ourselves from those coons?
Trap 362.
I gotcha. Trap, trap, trap. So tell me this. Now that we talk about traps, at least with the coons, you know, what type of trap do you recommend? And where, I know you have plenty of traps. And where did you buy your traps from?
Well, actually, I brought this in. There's a little have a heart
Okay.
squirrel rat chipmunk trap,
Right.
and I used to get the big size of these.
Hmm.
Uh, they're great traps,
Okay.
but they don't make them the way they used to. And
Okay.
a big coon, a big 20-pound, 18-pound coon, 25-pound coon, he'll tear that metal, that tin, he'll just rip it apart. And I got
Peel it
so
right back.
frustrated. Yeah, I just got so frustrated spending so much time with dikes and pliers trying to bend it to get it to work again. I gave up,
Hmm.
and I was using homemade traps. Then when I was in Kentucky last summer, I went to Cabela's and I saw this trap, and it was a neat design. And I said, I'm going to buy one of those.
Okay.
And then I bought one and we used it down on my buddy's place. And I said, I better buy another one before I go back to Maryland.
Hmm.
we
Right.
And I'm glad. I love them. I love them. I've caught fox in them, plenty of coons.
Wow.
A
Wow.
friend of mine down in Florida's caught bobcat in them.
Wow. So
Uh,
so this trap that you're talking about is from Cabela's, and so anybody, y- is it something that's only exclusive to Cabela's that you know of, or if it just so happen to be in Cabela's?
there was a brand name on the tag.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. There was no, when I went out this afternoon to look at the trap, I couldn't
Hmm.
find a name on it.
Okay.
But it's a very simple design, quality construction, made in the USA,
Okay.
and it's a great trap.
And that's key, is getting a great trap when you're out there trying to catch some varmints for sure.
You have one shot.
You have one shot.
You
Okay.
have one shot. If a raccoon gets, if he doesn't get caught, you probably won't catch him again in that trap
Got you.
or
So it's
any.
very, or any other thing similar to that, huh?
You do it right the first time. No second chances.
So when you're out there trapping anything, you got to make sure you're doing it right. Because if you don't, like you said, if you don't catch them that first time, you're probably not going to catch them at all. At least not in that same identical trap.
Right. And don't be afraid to make a mistake.
Right.
I make them all the time,
Hmm.
but I reevaluate and I sort it out. And but I don't get in a rush.
Hmm.
I'm not looking for instant results.
Right.
It's a job and it's a process.
Hmm.
But once you get in that rhythm, especially on a chicken lot, it's not that big a deal. I mean, it's 15 minutes out of your day, maybe more like 10, 5. And
Right.
if you have a big lot and these are with me all the time. They're in my truck, wherever I am, I have a pair of
Binoculars, huh?
binoculars. Yep. So I can look
Right.
a couple hundred yards down the hedgerow. That trap hasn't been set off, nothing in it. Don't even have to go down there.
Got you. So tell me this. Um, Before we talk about the distance, the radius, because you said a couple hundred yards, with setting those traps, is it different types of bait you use depending on what type of animal you're trying to catch, or is it just a universal bait that you use?
If I want, say, for example, to only catch raccoons,
Okay.
I use marshmallows, vanilla extract.
Hmm.
You don't need the real extract. You can buy the imitation. They don't
Okay.
care. uh, Peanut butter and honey sandwiches. Raccoons go crazy over them. And
What?
yeah, they love it. Melon, cantaloupe, they love it.
So raccoons like marshmallows, huh?
Love them. I've caught 3 here in the back. I've caught In the last month, I caught 3 big boar coons in my mother's backyard
With
with
marshmallows.
marshmallows. Just marshmallows.
Ah!
Just
So
throw
tell me
5
this,
marshmallows
Phil.
and
That is too funny. So tell me this then, Phil. So is there any other animal out there? Like say you went, the trap, the marshmallows was gone, and they just so happened got out the trap. Is there any other animals, varmints out there that's eating that will eat the marshmallows, or is that just something coons are only going to eat?
I caught a fox on marshmallows one time.
Wow, that is
I
too
caught I caught a
funny.
young fox, a half-grown fox on marshmallows one time.
Wow. But mainly, a coon is going to be the one eating marshmallows, peanut butter, honey, vanilla abstract, all that type of sweet stuff. A coon, that's what you're going to use to bait a coon.
Right. And it's just like a coon loves sweet corn. When your sweet corns get growing and getting ready to be harvested,
Mhm.
you go out there and everything's knocked down because the coons knocked it down and they've eaten all the sweet corn.
Right. So tell me this, Phil, since we're talking about baits and animals, let's talk about all the animals we can catch in a trap. So we talked about the coon. So what type of bait would you use for, say, a possum if you wanted to trap a possum?
Just catching anything, sardines, canned
Okay.
cat food, uh, leftover chicken bones, when you go to KFC or Popeyes or whatever,
Mhm.
uh, don't throw the bones away. I'm always saving them. I said, no, don't throw those away. Give me those bones. Take
Right.
everybody's bones off the table. And I put them in a wire basket, and then I wire that to the back of the trap or hanging
Okay.
at the
Okay.
back of the trap. And then whatever coon, possum, fox, whatever comes in there, he smells it, he gets a little taste, then he starts really working at it, and then he's going to hit the mechanism, trip the trap, he's done.
So tell me
And
this,
you,
Phil, when you say the back of the trap, do you like kind of conceal the back of the trap? You know what I mean? Like when you putting that trap out there, do you cover up like the back of it and only have, say,
yes,
half the trap being shown?
yep, absolutely.
Oh,
Uh, on these traps that I was telling you about, the wire is very small,
okay.
uh, a centimeter by a centimeter. So a coon isn't going to be able to get his paw through there. But I don't even,
Got you.
I don't want them to even be able to move the trap and accidentally trip it.
Tr-
And it happens. I
Okay.
mean, you can't do anything about that. But
Mhm.
yeah, well, you can do something about it. You can stake the trap down with wire, uh, put a cinder block on top of it, put
Okay.
slate on a piece of slate or a cinder block on the back,
Mhm.
and then force them to go in the front.
Got you. So you conceal in the back to force them pretty much to go in the front, right? That's the purpose of
Right.
concealing the back? Okay.
Yeah, and they're smelling
Okay.
it, and they can't try to get at it. They can't dig underneath the trap. I mean,
Mm,
they'll try every way to get into that thing rather than
right.
go into the door.
So you just make it the path of least resistance. Like you ain't got to dig up under it. You can just walk through this door. You ain't got to shake it and crawl over top of it. You can just walk through the door. So that's basically how you got the trap set up. Like, why do all that work when you can just walk through this door? So you set it up like that on purpose to make that the easiest way to get to the food is just to walk through the door.
Absolutely, and that's what works for me.
So Phil, tell me this. Um, so we got the I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wasn't saying anything. I'm
Okay, it
listening.
was a delay, Phil, but we back on
I,
now. It was a delay, right? It was a delay. Can you hear me good?
I hear you fine.
Yeah, it
Can
looks
you
like
hear
we just
me?
having a yeah, it looks like we just having a little delay. It could have been one of the internet access, but everything it looks like we back on board. I guess we look like we back on board. So let's keep moving. So we
Do it.
talked about the bait for the raccoon. We talked about the bait for the possums. How about fox? What type of bait would you use for a fox?
In a box trap, it is extremely difficult, moderately difficult, to catch a fox in a
Mhm.
box trap. It's got to be there's certain circumstances.
Mhm.
And a fox that's way out in the wilderness down in South Georgia probably isn't going to, a red fox probably is not going to march right into a box trap.
Mhm.
He's just not going to do it, but where they're exposed to a lot of people and a lot of outbuildings and
Okay.
construction, and they're not so scared, and they scavenge, and so they're used to going into places like that. And so you can get them with the box trap. I caught two here in town. Well, actually, I caught three here
Right.
in town. I mean, right in town. Great big ones. One right outside the the apartment door here.
With a box trap?
Yeah, I sent you the
With a
picture.
box
That one
trap?
in the box trap. That's literally
Yeah, I got
25.
the pictures. I got the
Yeah,
pictures. I didn't know.
20, 25 feet from where I'm sitting.
Wow.
5 nights.
Wow, that's amazing.
I
So
had it set 5 nights, and I got them on the
so
fifth
tell me
night.
this, Phil. How That's what I was going to ask you next. I was going to ask you next, like, how long does it typically take? And I know that might be a question that you can't really even answer because it's so many variables to it. Um, but you said with that fox that you caught, it took you 5 nights to catch him.
Some nights, some take 21 days, 20 days. But
Wow.
there is no animal that is more easily habituated than a red fox.
Hmm.
You can get them to do whatever you want them to do with time and patience.
Wow. A fox, huh?
I can pretty much tell you if I walk a property and see what's there, and now I can pretty much tell you what I'm going to be able to do.
Hmm.
Pretty much. There's always variables.
Right.
And, you have to take advantage of every single opportunity, or take advantage of every opportunity or plus you have.
Right.
You know, when I have arthritis from Lyme disease,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like rheumatoid arthritis, but it's not as
Right.
severe. And I'm in remission, so I feel better. But when a front moves in, I ache and hurt, and I don't want to do anything. I'm out there trapping. I'm making sure my traps are all good. They're all set. They're the way I want them. Boom. Because
Mm.
that bad weather's coming in. Those animals are not going to be able to eat, and you got to eat to live.
Got you. So you use that bad weather as an advantage
Oh
to
yeah.
trap. So you
Yep.
know food is not going to be just sitting there easy picking. So the weather is bad. I got this trap over here with some marshmallows on it or some sardines or whatever the case is, then that's going to be, something that's a lot more tempting to them than if they had food all over the place, like you said, the last 2 weeks where they digging holes all in the ground everywhere. So Phil, tell me this. Uh, so we talked about the coon, we talked about the possum, we talked about the fox. Now you said it's difficult to catch a fox in a box trap. What other ways do you what other way can you catch a fox?
Leg hold traps,
Okay.
steel leg hold traps, and snares, neck snares. It's a noose. It's a 3/16
Right.
aircraft cable, and it's
Hmm.
a loop about like that, and you set it, oh, about that high off the ground,
Mhm.
in a break in the fence or a hole in the fence,
Mhm.
or where a board is missing off the fence,
Mhm.
or on a run. And they'll go in it and strangled it. They're against the law in this county, but I can drive 16 miles north and it's perfectly legal to use them.
Got you. So that goes back to like we talked about earlier. Just make sure the stuff that Phil is discussing, just make sure you check with your locality to see if you can do that stuff in your county. So with the steel trap, so that's how you catch it with the snare. How about the steel trap? What type of scenario would you set up with it with a steel trap to catch, say, a fox?
Well, there's the traditional way of, you dig a hole, you use
Mhm.
some scent, lure, you
Mhm.
set that trap, you dig a hole, you cover the pan, which is the triggering mechanism
Okay.
that when they step on it, that releases the springs and the jaws go shut.
Okay.
What I do, because in bad weather, when it's cold and they're hungry and they gotta eat, I take a carcass of a duck or a goose. And we
Okay.
do a lot of goose and duck hunting here in Maryland. And the geese, especially the geese,
Mhm.
the edible part, the best part is the breast meat. So we just take the
Right.
breast meat out and then we have the rest of the carcass. I tie that goose. I either hang him so he's about 6, 8 inches off the ground,
Mhm.
or I stake him to the ground, or I tie him to a tree or a pole.
Okay.
This winter, I caught I set traps 45 days. I caught 23 fox off the same place.
Wow, within a 45-day period, you caught 20 plus fox in the same place.
23 fox on that one place. I
Wow.
would
So
not have,
tell me
I
this.
would not, I would not have believed it had I not seen it and done it myself. And I had a witness too. The old farmer, he'd go on his porch and he'd look with his little binoculars, and then he'd give me a phone call. He said, "Phil, you got one.
Wow. And you
One,
did that
one
with a leg trap, steel trap.
steel traps. One day, one week, 5 days in a row, I had fox
Hmm.
every single day for 5 days. It's unheard of. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow. And you said, and what type of bait was you using? Geese?
The goose carcasses.
Goose
Yep, goose
carcass. Okay.
carcass.
Goose carcass. So
And
say I got
it,
oh, go ahead, Seal. I'm sorry, Phil.
it was a 4x4 post, and I
Okay.
tied his wings back around the post with
Okay.
wire so he couldn't move. And then his guts are, I take a knife and I open his guts a little bit, get that smell going.
Hmm.
I use some commercial fox bait that really stinks. You can look
Mm,
it up. It's all kinds of different stuff. I don't even remember what I used, but it just gets
right.
that odor in the air.
Lingering. Hmm.
But they come up and then they grab a bite of those guts, yeah, or get whatever, and they start, and then they get hungry, and then they grab a hold of it and they start pulling,
Trying to take it
and they
off the
can't
post.
they can't get it anywhere. So then the whole time he's moving his back feet trying to pull that goose. Pop, one wrong move. Got him in this one.
Yeah.
Then he's trying to
Got
get
you.
away from that one. Bam, I got him in another one.
Right. Right. So you set them steel traps in a little perimeter around that goose strapped to that pole or
Yep,
tree, or if it like you said, if you got them staked in the ground. That's
yep.
pretty much how you want to set your traps. Okay. Okay. So tell me this, and I see somebody mention in the comments. How about bobcats?
I do not have a ton of experience with bobcats.
Okay.
Uh, There are not many up here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my friends in Kentucky and in Florida catch them in the box traps that I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
They also catch them in the steel traps using the same method I was telling you about.
Mm.
And they also will take a live hen. One friend of mine, he takes a live hen, he puts her under a milk crate,
Mm-hmm.
and he puts a cinder block on top of that and food and water in there. The bobcat comes up, he wants in, can't get in. He's moving around, doesn't pay attention. Boom, you got him.
Got you. Got you. So he's so focused on that hen and trying to figure out how to get up in that crate that he doesn't realize that his back feet is just trampling all around that trap until he trampled right into it.
That's it. I mean, if you were a purist trapper, it's a sloppy way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the perfect way to do things, but I'm going to tell you what, I'm results oriented.
Mm-hmm.
I do
That's all
whatever
that matters
works.
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters. I got him.
Got you. So Phil, let's talk about a couple other animals because we
Sure.
already at an hour. I told you it don't take long. We are we already at an hour. How about these weasels and mongooses and stuff like that? How do you catch those things? Do you catch them in one of those little traps that you just put up?
Weasels and mink, uh, and I've never had any experience with mongoose other than in Africa and shooting a couple.
Okay.
Um, I I've never really had any experience with them. I know they wreak havoc,
Hmm.
uh, but for weasels and mink, I use a fish-based commercial-made bait.
Okay.
You can buy it at Cabela's or on these trapping supply. Just
Mhm.
go online and type in trapping supplies, mink and mink bait, and it'll be probably some fish type bait.
Okay.
I know this is going to sound just absolutely nuts, but I've used rat traps. The
You
big
use what?
wooden rat traps.
Yeah.
For a rat. Yeah, the one like a mouse trap, but
Yeah,
it's
I
a
know the
lot
big one.
bigger.
Yeah, the big ones. Yeah, like they use up in New
Yeah,
York. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Well, I instead of putting peanut butter on the bait thing for a rat, or I put that stinky fish stuff, and I put it in a run. I study and I watch the grass. I see where the grass has been moved and the weeds have been moved, and I set it right in there. And he's got to have it. And he goes in there,
Mm,
boom, that thing just crushes him. Boom, he's dead.
got you. Got you.
And you
So
can
maybe.
also use, there's called a conibear trap, which
Mhm.
I don't use because with one hand I can't set them. But
Okay.
they're a killing trap, and you open them up, and there's a piece of metal that hangs down, and you put the bait on that. When the animal passes through or grabs that bait, then the door swings shut and crushes them.
Got you. Yep, I
They
seen
were
those before.
developed in Canada.
Mhm.
I don't remember when, because people thought the foot traps were cruel. So they developed a trap that would kill.
I got you. Instead of okay. All right. So it seems like we covered a lot of the animals. Now, I think the only animal we have not covered, which is a nuisance to some people, to a lot of people, depending on where you're located. This would be the last animal we cover, and then I want to talk a little bit about the tracks and stuff like that. How about the coyotes? Like, what is the situation with those?
Not good.
Mhm.
different places, they are different problem levels.
Mhm.
I have a customer right now that lost 6 lambs and a ewe, about $1,500 worth of livestock in one night.
Mm.
And I've known these people for years. And I said,
Mhm.
look, you got to stop screwing around. And they bought a 1.5-year-old Pyrenees. And I told them how to start working that dog and training it. It was on a cattle farm. It had been
Mhm.
used to cattle and chickens. So the sheep, it's getting used to the sheep and it's doing a good job. And
Okay.
they've had it about 2 weeks now. And, it's still in the learning process, but they're doing well.
They're
They haven't
doing
lost
well.
any sheep.
So can you, besides the dog, can you trap those coyotes as well, just like you do with the foxes? Same method?
A little bit different.
A little bit different. Okay.
Coyote, a coyote he's a coward.
Okay.
He's a real coward. He's the one animal that lives with his head behind his shoulders. He's always looking over his shoulder.
Mm.
And I've sat and watched coyotes go up to traps. Just sat there and watched them. Where I had a trap set
Right.
and the baits there. He'll pace back and forth 100 times before he will commit to go and get a bite to eat.
Hmm.
So what I do, I just find a place, maybe 6, 7 foot away from the bait,
Mhm.
and I set the trap the way you're supposed to set a trap. The proper way to set a trap for that. I dig my hole. I bury my stake. I bury my chain. Um, I I'm wearing rubber gloves. I pack the dirt around. I put a piece of wax paper over the pan. I take a sifter and I sift dirt or sand over top of that.
Mhm.
Take a little bit of water, sprinkle that, and leave it alone. And just keep checking it.
It's just
And
time.
it just takes time. He might not come back through on his circuit. He might not come back through for a week, but in that week, he will come back. And chances are he will step in that trap trying to get that food.
Got you. So Phil, tell me this. What is the perimeter or what's the radius that animals like that, you know, if you had that kind of problem, um, on your farm, what is the radius like these animals travel? Is it a couple miles? Is it 10 miles? Like, what is the radius that these coyotes and coons and all that kind of stuff travel?
A fox's home range is a male fox will travel about 15 miles.
Okay.
Um, a boar coon, a male coon, about the same, maybe a little less, 10 miles, 10 square miles.
Okay.
Coyote, much bigger. He might go
Much bigger,
20
huh?
miles. And they've done
Hmm.
studies. You can look it up online and see the studies where they did radio collars and then they tracked them. It's pretty interesting. Pretty
Wow.
interesting stuff. But we used to run coyotes up in Vermont with foxhounds. And
Hmm.
we had 20 and 25-mile chases. But, we after 5 miles, we'd go pick up the dogs and we'd drop fresh hounds
Right.
out and keep that going that way. And then we'd catch him crossing a cornfield or something and shoot him or turn a catch dog loose out and let the dog
Wow. That's
go out and walk him down.
right. Right. I didn't know. I mean, that radius is amazing. And the fact that you said coyotes is really nothing but cowards, that's what make them actually even harder to catch because they so afraid of everything and they ain't really taking a chance on nothing. So you got to really catch them with a bunch of patience, basically.
You got to have the patience, and you got to be able to. It just is. It's a waiting game.
Waiting, waiting game. Okay, okay. So Phil, we covered a lot of stuff in this interview. We over an hour, but it's a few other things I want to a few other things I want to
Please.
cover.
Hey, I'm drinking
Because
coffee.
again,
I'm up now.
yeah, yeah, it's a few other things I want to cover. Um, because again, I think we provided them pretty much with all the information. You provided them with the type of traps, you provided them with the bait, you provided them with the behavior of different types of animals. Um, let's talk about if I am, walking well, I ain't gonna say walking my perimeter, but saying driving on a gator or something like that, my perimeter. Is there any type of signs that I could be looking? I know you said, sometimes you can see coyote hair or something like that, or a dog hair or stuff like that on a barbed wire, on a fence, or sometimes I'm trying to dig under. But is there any particular like track marks? Do like they travel like deer, do the same path all the time? You know what I mean? With any of those
Fox
particular
do.
animals? Mhm.
Fox do. Coyotes do to a certain extent.
Okay.
Um, and you know, I know that on the golf carts and the gators are a must,
Right.
but there is nothing like feet on the ground,
Mhm.
shoe leather. Take
Right,
your time, look closely. You know, it doesn't have to be every day, but
right.
twice a week, walk your fences. Walk them. Take the farm dog and go for a walk
Mhm.
and look. And whenever you're hunting anything and you're trying to determine, you know, where am I going to get a shot? Where am I going to set a trap? Where can I lay up and wait?
Right.
You look for something that's not normal, that's not
Mhm,
supposed to be there.
mhm.
Cattle fence that's pried up 6 inches is not supposed to be like that.
Right.
A tuft of hair is not supposed to be there.
Mhm.
And your eyes will deceive you. But after a day after a rain, that's when I love to. A day after a rain, I can look in the mud, or right after a fresh snowfall, I'm out. I'm out in the woods. I'm looking
Mhm.
because that whatever route, it's so easy to see. I mean,
Right.
or I'm riding in my truck just looking. I'm driving 10 miles an hour down the road looking, 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 looking.
Right.
There he is. There he is. There he is. Got him. Boom. And I don't just trap. My farm is here.
Mhm.
I don't just trap around my farm. I got a buddy 5 miles up the road,
Right.
and I set a couple traps on his place. I got
So
another
like you
buddy
say
10 miles the other way. I got 4 traps he's checking for me. It's
because it
no
all goes
mercy.
back to that radius, right?
Yeah,
It all goes back to that radius.
right. And as soon as you catch them, it's just a matter of time. It's nature's way. There are going to
Right.
be more in there.
Mhm.
It never ends
It never ends.
because
So I get
when when the female fox raises her litter,
Mhm.
the first thing she does when they're old enough is she runs the little males off.
Mhm.
She'll bite them and grab them and shake them so they don't inbreed. Same with a black
Oh,
bear. When the black bear cubs are about 80, 90 pounds, that sow will start beating them up. And that's when we start seeing them down here because 50, 60 miles away, we have the Catoctin Mountains. And they come down the river, and then we see plenty of black bear. 15 miles from the White House.
wow. Got you. So that is something I guess you got to really keep in mind. So around breeding season or whelping season, not breeding season, but whelping season. After whelping season, you might encounter some issues that you really haven't encountered because the mamas is going to be pushing the males away. So now they're going to be out there on their own, doing their own searching for food.
Right. And whelping season is for fox here, whelping season is late July, August, maybe first part of September.
Hmm.
And September, that's when you start, September, October, you start seeing the bear.
Okay.
Uh, but the times that, you really got, I mean, I trap year round on the
Right.
certain farms because I have to keep them down. But
Hmm.
you really want to hit them. You really want to trap hard as soon as the trapping season starts, or if you're on your own property and protecting livestock, it's
Hmm.
all bets are off. You can set your
Right.
traps on your property,
Right.
but I'm doing it, say starting November, and I don't let up. I don't let up through April
So April,
because
November,
they're
you going hard.
hard, hard all the time because you got breeding season, so they're running.
Hmm.
Then the female foxes are pregnant and it's wintertime. They got to eat. So
Hmm.
they're eating like crazy to grow those 3, 4, up to 6 babies.
Right.
They got to do that. The coons are laid up. The females are up in the tree and they'll come down and drink a little bit, but the boar coons will still run. And you can catch them.
Right.
That's what I was been catching. That's all I caught this winter, but I caught 50 coons last year. So I only
Wow.
caught I only caught maybe a dozen coons this year, but I caught 50 last year. So I knocked them back pretty good.
Right. So tell me this, and this is going to be the last animal we cover, and I got a different take on this, and you open my eyes. No, actually, this is not going to be the last animal. This is going to be the last three animals because the last three we saving the last three for the best for last. Um, what are your thoughts on snakes?
All right. Snakes. I'm not scared of snakes.
Okay,
I like snakes. Uh, to me, they're beneficial.
okay. In
And
what way?
I do also want to say that all these animals, they're all God's creatures. They
Hmm.
all have a place in this world,
Hmm.
but things get out of balance.
Right.
And, as stewards of the property that we have, or, you know, we have to manage what we
Right.
have.
It's called managing. No different than hunting. If
Right.
we don't hunt deer and all that kind of stuff, they're going to just get overpopulated. We got houses in places that it wasn't a house 100 years ago, and we got neighborhoods in places where it wasn't a neighborhood 50 years ago, and you know what I mean. We got to manage these animals because we're populated in places where we used to didn't be, and they expand, and especially when you don't hunt them. All of these states who have stopped hunting particular animals. And I forgot, I just read an article about the wolf. I think Idaho, I think it is Idaho. Idaho just passed a bill to eliminate all the wolves in Idaho because
Yeah.
again, they go back to this, you know, animal rights. No, don't kill the wolves. Don't kill the wolves. Well, you know what now? The wolves are out of control. The wolves are out of control. So the politicians had to step back in and say, you know what? We got to go after the wolf now. So you go from don't touch them because they have rights to now they're out of control and we got to eliminate all of them. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you say, it's the balance. You can't just stop not hunting wolves. They're gonna get at they breed. Like what do you have to control them? You know what I mean? It's like if we didn't eat chicken, but we had chicken houses. What do you think gonna happen? Somebody got to eat them chickens.
Somebody's going
Because
to
if
eat them.
they exact, I mean, it is, and it has happened with every single animal, even the ones that they're trying to bring back from the brink of extinction. They stop hunting them, so that tells you right there. When they stop hunting them, they repopulate. So what happens when you stop hunting wolves? They're gonna really, really populate. If you stop hunting coyotes, all of these animals are going to get out of control. It's the same thing that the conservationists does when they trying to bring an animal back from the brink of extinction. So, like you say, regardless, at the end of the day, they are God's animals. But like you say, being a good stewardess, we do have to kind of keep a balance. Not eradicate them, but keep a balance where they can live, we can coexist together. To me, that's what it is. I mean, that's what hunting is all about, you know,
That's what it is.
so we
That's
can
exactly what it
coexist.
is.
Yeah.
But
That's
the snakes, your regular chicken operation, they hurt you quail size and down.
okay.
They're hard on them.
Hmm.
Uh, that picture of that corn snake I showed you,
Right.
it killed it. 8 or 10 pure butcher quail size I had. Oh, I was heartbroken, but I didn't get
Wow.
angry at the snake. He just did he did what
Hmm.
a snake does. And we have black rat snakes up here and black racers, and they do the same thing. And I pick them up and I take them down to the river and turn them loose. I don't
Got
want to kill them.
you
That's
don't want to
just my
and,
choice.
and you said the benefactor to that as well is they eat rats and mice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And horse farms, uh, they'll say, "Hey, Phil, if you get a bunch, get a couple, save them up, and bring them up here and turn them loose." We're not.
Got
We don't have any chickens, but wherever you have animals, livestock feed, you're going to have rats and mice.
right. Hmm.
It's just how it is.
It's how it is. Now, now that's definitely right. You going, some situations are worse than others, but at the end of the day, you are going to have some type of rats or mice. You're going to have something. If you got livestock and you got enough of it, even backyard breeders who got, egg layers and stuff like that, they have it. They might not have big New York City rats, but they got some, mice at least, field mice and stuff like that. They're going to have some type of rodents out there. So you're not a big fan of eliminating the snakes due to the fact that they do help with the rodent control, even though they may put your quail size chicks or smaller at risk. Um, is there anything that you can kind of do, to kind of maybe keep them away a little bit? You know what I mean? Because some guys are like, nah, I'm not, I'm eliminating them snakes. But is there any advice you can give somebody to say, you know what, I see the benefit to them, but I don't want to step on them when I'm walking inside the
Yeah.
cock house.
Oh no, no, I get it. I'm not telling anybody what to do. It's
Right,
my opinion and the way I
right,
feel about it. Uh, Mothballs.
okay.
Toss mothballs around the perimeter of your property. They don't like that smell. And underneath
Mm,
buildings, they don't like that. And if you really got a lot of snakes and you got to get them down, get a minnow trap and put a couple small yard hatch, that you're going to call anyhow. Put them
mm-hmm.
in there with some food and water and litter. In a couple days, you'll have a black rat snake in there, and
Wow.
he's constricted and swallowed that chick. So now he can't get back out the hole. He's stuck in
Oh,
that minnow trap.
got you. Got. Okay. So that's one of the ways you catch them.
Yep.
So we want to cover these last two, which shocked me. But when I thought about it, it made all the sense in the world. I posted up early too, guys, was the snapping turtle and the what's a toad, right?
Bullfrog.
Bullfrog. Now
Big
that
bullfrogs.
yeah, that caught me off guard. When you told me the snapping turtle and a bullfrog also eat chicks, and when I thought about it, I remember my father fishing and catching, snapping turtles, and he did use chicken on a hook. So I guess that made sense, but I guess it just really depends on where you live because the picture that I posted up, that was a pretty big snapping turtle. And
Oh
with
yeah.
that size snapping turtle, you said that can eat a quail-sized chick or smaller, huh?
Oh no. He'd take a cock and chop his leg off the tie
What?
cord. Yeah.
Wow. So guys, I don't know if y'all seen it, but I did post a picture earlier of the snapping turtle that Phil caught. And Phil is saying that size snapping turtle right there that he caught will bite a cock's leg in half straight off the tie cord.
Straight off the tie cord. And I know this, I've seen it myself, but when I first heard about it, uh, old Joe Z, who's passed away, God bless his soul,
Hmm.
he had a tie cord lot that was on a tributary of the Chesapeake Bay.
Hmm.
And they would go down, they'd go down there and there would be a leg of a chicken tied to the tie cord and the cock is gone.
Wow. You
I mean, it was like
kidding me?
cut with a knife. And he couldn't, I mean, they just couldn't figure it out. And then the Spanish guy that was feeding for Joe said, Senor Joe, Tortuga.
Right.
And Joe didn't get it. And then he put two and two together and he went down there and the guy had this big snapping turtle and there was one of Josie's whites and his leg was chopped off.
Wow. So
Yep.
snapping turtle was eating his cock straight off the tie cord.
Straight off tie cord, coming out, going up underneath the fence on the bank, going through, grab a cock, take him back in the water.
Because they definitely eat chicken. I know that for a fact.
Oh,
So how about the bullfrog? I mean, that one caught me off guard. I'm like, a
that one,
bullfrog?
that one blew my mind. Uh, I also, one of my hobbies and things I've done, I like to do is fish ponds.
Mhm,
Koi ponds, goldfish
mhm.
ponds. I've installed them, make them, designed them, installed them, you name it. And I have a friend who was a chicken guy up in New Jersey. And we were sitting on his back patio
Mhm.
and watching the waterfall. And, it was a beautiful day. And a little sparrow flew to get a drink of water. And that bullfrog, gone. Got him.
Wow.
And I said, whoa, that was unreal. And my friend said, Phil, they'll do it to chickens. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. He said, look. And he went into the house and he brought out a picture
Right.
of a quail size gamefowl that a frog had ingested. Now I frog
Wow.
hunt. I used to gig frogs quite often. I used to go two,
Mhm.
3 nights a week. And I found, snapping turtles, maybe 4 inches, the shell's 4 inches long
Right.
inside of a frog. You saw the
Wow.
pic you saw the pictures of those frogs.
Yeah, they were bigger than your
Those
crocs.
Yeah, those crocs are size 10.
Wow. Them things are enormous. Them things was
Yeah,
enormous.
yeah, huge. And I mean, I've seen baby ducks that had full feathers, maybe weighed a pound. I've gotten them out of frogs. Uh, Other frogs, a big frog, one that's 2/3 the size of the one that ate it.
Hmm.
just a third smaller, and that frog he'll eat it. They're cannibals.
Wow. Those was like I say, those last two really like blew my mind. But again, I know about the snapping turtle because I remember my father fishing, I mean catching snapping turtle with a piece of chicken on a hook. So, but them as far as going and snatching a cock straight off the tie cord is amazing. So it all depends. I guess it goes back to like you say, just knowing the geographical area you in and what animals are going to be a threat to your flock. Basically, that's why it's
Right.
important to know what animals what animals is in your geographical area, so you have an idea. Um,
Absolutely.
wow.
Absolutely, Jim. You got to be aware of your surroundings at all
Mhm.
times. You really do.
That's what it all comes down to. Well, Phil, listen, brother, I think we pretty much covered, all of the animals. It was definitely a lot of comments and stuff like that. It looks like a lot of them understood. You explained it pretty straightforward. That's the great thing about it with the trapping and stuff like that. A lot of stuff is pretty straightforward. There were a lot of questions, but I think throughout the interview, those questions that they had was answered. They were just asking questions before we actually got to that top, that part of the
Sure.
topic. So that was a great thing about it. But like I said, guys, if you just chimed in or you didn't chime in at the middle, at the beginning of the interview, definitely go back to the beginning of the interview, watch the whole interview. Phil pretty much covers all the animals that's typically a threat to a breeder on his farm, from coyotes to possums to coons to foxes. Talked a little bit about the bobcats. He talked about how to trap them, what type of traps to use, what type of bait to use, what time of year you should be focused on, or at least going hard with it. Walking your perimeter, what things to look for. So his whole basic thing is how to identify something, how to catch it, but also being very proactive. Being very proactive. Um, so I think that's probably one of the keys, because a lot of times, in many cases, everybody that I know is just reactive. They don't start looking to trap anything or to get anything until they walk out on a yard and something in the flock is dead. That's the only time that they start walking perimeters, they start looking for traps, they start trying to identify what's what. And a bad thing is, if you do have something that hits your flock, don't stop until you find out what it was, because I don't ever see anybody figuring it out what it was. I mean, so I don't need know how you can really be proactive if you don't go out there and spend the time to try to figure out, hey, listen, what done this to my chickens? And if you don't know what it is, I think you need to keep trying to figure it out. At least out there searching to figure it out. I mean, what do you think, Phil?
Absolutely. And, be brutally honest with yourself,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to dogs.
Hmm.
You know, so many times you'll see dead chickens on a yard, and the owner wants to blame it on this, blame it on that.
Hmm.
Well, you can tell when a young dog has just mauled a chicken and not, ripped, but they don't want to think their dog did it.
Right.
But it ends up, you got to be honest with yourself.
Hmm.
And if you're going to have a chicken dog, you got to spend the time with that dog and
Right.
train it and make sure that he's proven before you get him in that lot.
Hmm.
And golden rule, never two puppies together.
Never two puppies, huh? I seen
Never
that
two.
yeah, I seen that as definitely a problem. I'm not I'm pretty sure somebody out there who had two puppies and they didn't have any problems with that at all.
Sure.
But I think if you took 10 cases, there are going to be more cases where people have problems with two puppies than cases where they all worked out fine. I mean, that's just based on my experience. Again, just based on my experience, I see it's difficult. When you got two puppies, it's kind of hard. My opinion. Yeah, I think it's
Well,
kind of hard.
they're not paying attention to you. They're paying attention to themselves. And,
Right.
you know, they, they're pack animals and they're going to get in trouble,
Right.
and it just doesn't work. And I used to raise Labrador retrievers, and my brother's a professional trainer, and it just doesn't work. You
Right.
ask any dog, any hounds, any bird dog, beagler, coon hunter,
Mhm.
they'll tell you never. You hunt an old dog with a young dog.
Right. Yeah, them
You
two
know,
puppies, that's what all types of training. I agree. I definitely agree. But like I said, somebody out there who probably had a different experience. But like you said, if you ask all of those different types of sportsmen, dogmen, they'll tell you that two puppy thing is very difficult. It's best to do one.
hey, I
Um,
was blessed, growing up with old timers
mhm,
when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, into
right.
my 20s. I grew up in hunting with old timers and fooling with chickens with old
Mhm,
timers. So I learned a lot. And then I
right.
learned a lot on trial and error.
Right. That's right.
And don't be afraid to make a mistake. Go
Mhm,
out there, but do your homework and then go out there and give it what for.
right.
And like in Wortham's rules, the number one rule: protect your cock at all times.
I know that's right.
You got to protect them.
That's the
Protect
truth
your rooster. Protect them at all times.
at all times. Phil, this has been an amazing video, man. You shared some great information, dude. It's been a pleasure. We talked about a topic that, like I say, this is the first time we ever covered this topic on Journey to the Pit. And when you really brought it to my attention about predator control, I said, man, that's a very good topic. Um, and I said it because it's something that we have all been hit by. It's something that we got very little experience with, and in many cases, if not all, everybody's always reactive. So I hope, if you have watched this interview, I hope now that you'll take some of this advice that Phil has shared with us tonight and kind of put it into practice immediately. You don't gotta wait to November. You can put it in practice immediately. Because again, you don't want to be reactive. And it might have been something that wasn't that valuable to you that they got this time. But if you don't get them before, they will eventually get you some shape, form, or fashion. And the dogs are great. I know many, probably 99% of guys out there got great dogs on their farm. At the end of the day, that I look at the dogs are the last line of defense. You should have layers of defense when it comes to your flock, not just one line. The dogs, it seems like with breeders, the dog is the first and the last line of defense. It's all in total. So if the dog fails, the whole yard, the whole flock is vulnerable. If a dog passes away, the whole flock is vulnerable because you have no other lines of defense. And guys never pay attention to that until they lose a dog, either through passing away or running away or getting hit by a car. Then they realize how vulnerable they were. So I think the information that Phil, shared with us tonight can be used as different layers of defense that you can have and not have the whole burden on your dog. Because again, we all know dog is a living creature like everything else. You can wake up one morning and he can be gone, just like we do with these chickens. So
Hey, Jim,
that's pretty
and
much it.
the top
Go ahead,
guys
Phil.
I know, the
Hmm.
top guys I know, chicken guys, they
Hmm.
got dogs in rotation. They got a dog that's, a good chicken dog at 3 years old. Then they start a
Hmm.
puppy.
Right.
Then it's six. Every three,
Right.
4 years, they're putting a new dog into the rotation. So they
Mhm.
they have two, three, four dogs, but they're
Mhm.
never without one,
Right. Right. That's
and they're
exact
never
no, that's
caught.
exactly right. Yep.
They're never caught
That
off guard.
mhm. So guys, like I say, man, it's again another night of great information that you can put in practice now. I think one of the points that Phil is driving home is just being proactive, not being reactive. And he gave us some tips and tricks that we can use to try to, create another line of defense. And that's pretty much it, guys. I hope y'all guys enjoyed this interview tonight. I know I did, and I learned some stuff. Um, in Puerto Rico, we ain't got to deal with all those kind of animals, but still, the biggest threat over there is dogs and cats. But again, like Phil said, a lot of times that's that's the worst predator is your neighbor's dog. So guys, man, so
Uh,
Phil, listen, brother, have a good night. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show, man. And we always talk, on a
yeah.
couple days a
Jim,
week.
thanks for
So
having me. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, man,
Always
it's been a pleasure, man.
love talking hunting and trapping and chickens.
I know that's right.
Love
I
doing it
know that's
better.
right. Exactly, exactly. So listen, guys, before we close out, like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notification. If you're watching us from Facebook, make sure you hit that like and that follow button. We have these interviews every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you can see tonight, we've come up with all different types of topics to cover the whole gamut. Anything that you need to know when it comes to raising game fowl. And you can see we didn't talk about chickens tonight. We talk about a topic that is extremely important if you plan on raising chickens. So hopefully y'all guys took this information to heart, took some notes, rewatched the video, share the video, because again, it's all about each one, teach one. So guys, that's going to be our last information. We're going to close this interview out. I will see y'all guys next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and on Facebook. Phil, you have a great night, brother, and I will be talking to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Out.
God bless.
All right, God bless. Thank you. Guys, like I say, just have a great evening. Stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed, and remember to share this information because it's all about each one teach one. When one grow, we all can grow. So y'all guys have a great evening. Good night.